Our scripture passage this morning comes to us from the Gospel of Luke, the 17th chapter, in which we hear the story of Jesus cleansing 10 lepers. On the way to Jerusalem, Jesus was going through the region between Samaria and Galilee. As he entered a village, 10 lepers approached him. Keeping their distance, they called out, saying, "Jesus, Master, have mercy on us." When he saw them, he said to them, "Go and show yourselves to the priests." And as they went, they were made clean. Then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice. He prostrated himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him. And he was a Samaritan. Then Jesus asked, "Were not 10 made clean? But the other 9, where are they? Was none of them found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner?" Then he said to him, "Get up and go on your way. Your faith has made you well." Here ends our scripture reading for this morning. May it be a blessing to those who hear it and to those who keep it. Amen. Please join with me in a word of prayer. Lord, I ask that the words of my mouth and the meditation of all of our hearts be pleasing and acceptable unto you, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. In 1986, Janet Jackson released an album entitled Control, with a hit award-winning single entitled, "What Have You Done For Me Lately?" In further research on that song, I learned that this was written in response to a recent divorce of Jackson's the previous year, and the song helped to establish her as a serious solo artist and not just another one-hit wonder pop musician who happened to have a famous family. The music video for this song, which is hilarious to watch by today's standards, the hair and the outfits. Many of you probably wore the hair and the outfits. It happened to be choreographed by Paula Abdul, I was surprised to learn, and does have a few cameos of famous people from that day. Now, I share all of this information with you because I attempted to research the familiar phrase, "What have you done for me lately?" in an effort to write this sermon message. The difficulty was identifying the history of this particular colloquial idiom is that it does not seem to have a direct origin. At some point, even as early as the 1950s and 60s, newsprint and media outlets of the day were using the phrase to address the lack of action in politicians, sports managers, athletes' production, and so on. Even today, the phrase is familiar to you because we hear all the time that professional sports has a "what have you done for me lately" culture. Famous and productive athletes are paid millions of dollars to play sports, and yet when their production of runs, hits, goals, touchdowns, baskets, and statistics in general is lacking, people begin to wonder if they were indeed worth the investment of millions. I have a question for you, and this is a participation part, so you can raise your hand and whatnot. Don't yell anything out, though. How many of you have heard of Sam Bowie? That's one I expected. Really? There's another hand over here? Yeah, really? Wow, okay. Wonderful. For those of you who don't know, Sam Bowie was a professional basketball player from my hometown of Lebanon, Pennsylvania. Now, I have met Sam Bowie multiple times, having grown up in the Lebanon School District, and I heard him speak many times about athletics and academics at our school assemblies. Sam Bowie graduated from Lebanon in 1979, and he played for Kentucky, which may be why you know his name, maybe. And he played for Kentucky because Penn State is not very good at basketball. Sam Bowie was drafted in the first round in 1984 as the second overall pick by the Portland Trail Blazers. Here's another opportunity for you to respond and be participation. Do you know who was drafted right after him in 1984 besides Ron? Yeah, it was Michael Jordan. Wonderful. Michael Jordan was drafted second after Sam Bowie by the Chicago Bulls. The first overall pick that particular year was Hakeem Olajuwon, who was drafted by the Houston Rockets. The fifth overall pick was Charles Barkley by the Philadelphia 76ers. Ninth was Otis Thorpe to the Kansas City Kings, and 16th was John Stockton by the Utah Jazz. Now, if you know anything about basketball, some of those names should stand out to you. Jordan, of course, being one of the first and most obvious. Do you know why you don't know Sam Bowie's name, even though he was picked over some of the other great players of that 1984 draft class? It's because he got hurt. He never ended up playing a full season for any team. Eventually, he retired early, and now you don't know his name, even though I ate in a lunchroom next to his case with his picture and his size 14 shoe every single day of school. It was very gross eating next to a shoe, but we knew whose shoe it was. Potentially, he was one of the greatest players of all time, chosen over the great Michael Jordan, the one who has changed the game itself. And yet, when he stopped producing, he was no longer relevant to the basketball world. Certainly, he has since inspired many athletes and academics from the Lebanon community, and he is still a hero that is recognized within our community today. We won't talk about Kerry Collins. But this is the type of culture we live in today. This mentality of what have you done for me lately is not only limited to the world of sports. In 1986, Janet Jackson applied it to her own relationship. Today, you might also apply it to your boss or to your place of employment, to your coworkers, or even to your own relationships. And what is the result from this particular attitude? Well, if you haven't done anything for me lately, then I might as well forget you. I might as well leave you. Or I might as well simply do nothing for you in return for the nothing that you have done and given to me. In an unhealthy relationship, this might be okay. But when you begin to apply that to a healthy relationship, or even to the relationship you have with God, with the church, then there might be a problem. Unrealistic or unspecified expectations of those around you can lead to some disastrous ends. Now, we do not come by this type of relationship with one another, or even with God, without our history. Look to our ancestors traveling around in the desert. Moses left the newly freed and God-adopted Israelites for just a few days as he went up to the mountain to speak with God. And what did the Israelite people do within those few days? They crafted a golden idol and began to worship it instead of God. It only took days, 72 hours, for them to forget what great things that God had just done for them in their lives. He freed them from an eternal enslavement. He brought them across an impassable Red Sea on dry land. He fed them with bread that fell from the very skies. He traveled before them in a pillar of smoke, fire, and wind, and within 72 hours of nothing, they were on to the next, even in ancient times. Where does that leave us today in a culture where everything is instantaneous? Now, don't get me wrong here or mishear what I'm about to say, because I'm about to complain about something that really isn't all of that relevant to you. It's not all that important to me, yet it fits for my lesson today, and so I share it with you. I begin by saying I love Arby's food. Right? I see you guys at Arby's all the time. You love Arby's food. I was not much of a fan of Arby's food when I was a kid because we didn't go there all that often. But then again, their menu at that time wasn't as robust as it is today. But every single Arby's that I go to, and the one in town here in Bluffton included, seems to take forever to prepare food. I've often sat there in the drive-thru wondering if they have to also catch and pluck the chicken that they are preparing for my sandwich, because it just seems to take forever for them to get it out the window. In reality, I'm sure that it's only a couple of minutes, and hopefully they're preparing things as freshly for me as I would hope, and I do appreciate that too. But in comparison, when I go to other fast food places, I'm in, I'm out, I'm on my way. I want to be able to order my fast food fast. And then I want to get it fast so that I can go on and get about my day fast. But as soon as that process is interrupted, I'm already at a point where I begin to think, maybe I don't want to deal with this. What have you done for me lately, Arby's? Right? Still good food, though. Worth it in the end, worth the wait. So now we apply that mentality in a world of quick response and quick change to the church. Notorious for being very slow in response, very slow in change. Unless, of course, there's a disaster, and then, of course, we're on that double quick. But all of those times in between, the church is like a glacier. So we give money to the church, and we say, "What is my money used for, O church?" And the church responds, "It is used for ministry." And so then you respond, "What ministry?" And the church says, "You know, ministry, out there, somewhere." Great. But what does that do for me? When I go to Arby's and I wait for them to go and milk the cow for my milkshake, I give them money, they give me high cholesterol. I can see the give and the take. When I go to a sporting event and I overpay for the ticket price and I purchase the jersey of my favorite player that they're just going to trade next week anyway, I can watch the franchise play that player and help the team win. But when I give money to the church and the church says it's ministry somewhere, then what has the church done for me lately? You see, the church is like this Samaritan who was healed and returned to thank Jesus. Jesus healed 10 people in today's scripture passage, and yet of those 10 people, it was only one that returned to thank him for what he had done. Even when the church, or in this case, Jesus, just provided something to these people, they were so into themselves and so into what they were doing that they had already moved on. Yeah, Jesus healed me an hour ago, but what has he done for me lately? Yes, Jesus restored me, returned me to society in a way that my leprosy would never allow. But what has he done for me lately? I bet if they ever got sick again, they'd be more than happy to seek out Jesus again and ask for some more healing. But here's a better question. Do you think that they would thank him afterwards? We're quick to forget in our culture. We're quick to forget what has been done for us by the ones who have loved us and care for us. One Mother's Day, one Father's Day, one Grandparents' Day, which I forgot. We take these times, these 1 days, to provide a thank you for the people who have provided for us. 1 day out of 365 in a year. 1 day a year out of thousands of days that they have cared and protected and provided for us. Because yeah, they did put a Band-Aid on your cut, kissed your boo-boos years ago, but what have they done for me lately? Yeah, my spouse surprised me with flowers and a card for no reason, but that was last year. What have they done for me lately? Yes, Jesus died for me, advocated for me, loves me, teaches me, heals me, supports me, guides me, but really, Jesus, what have you done for me lately? The amount of gratitude that we have as a human species is almost laughable. When you read the story from today, you might think, no, I was raised right. I would be that one that returns. I was brought up to be gracious and thankful. We try to bring Caleb up to be gracious and thankful. If someone does something for him, we remind him to say thank you to that person. And sometimes, even without being prompted to do so, he does it. And I think, yeah, Jen and I are bringing him up right. But do you think that he would be one of the ones that returns, or do you think that he would be one of the other 9? How about you? Would you be that one, or would you be with the other 9, celebrating your newfound fortune, celebrating what has been done for you without showing an ounce of gratitude? How often are we thanking the people for what they've done from the past? How often are we thanking people sufficiently and remembering enough of what has been done for us? How often are we recognizing the sacrifices of those who came before in order for us to be where we are today? 10 people were healed in today's story, and only 1 came back. And it wasn't even the devout Jewish person, it was a heathen Gentile person, a non-believer. And Jesus asks, were not 10 made clean? Where are the others? When the day comes and you are asked that question, I simply ask, where will you be? Will you be off to the next, wondering what has been done for you lately, or you'll be returning to the one who gave you everything? And how often do you offer that thanks and recognize what has been done for you? What is your immortal soul, life everlasting, eternity in heaven worth to you? 1 action of gratitude and thanks? 2 actions of gratitude and thanks? If you find yourself asking the question, what have you done for me lately, and you're asking that of God, perhaps you should turn the question around and begin to ask, what have I done for others lately? What have I done in response to others lately? If you need to know the answer to the question I've asked today, then I would simply say to you to look around you. Look at the people who are here. Look at what this church has done for you, this community has done for you. This is what God has done for you. Our response and our culture should be based on these words. Thanks be to God. And not some self-seeking form of appeasement and expectation of the things that we are owed. So today we say, thanks be to God. Amen.